Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you are curious about what this is, or you've got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I'm Chatty, this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away about what I have read in February. Yes, I know it's a bit late, but I've been a bit busy, but I still want to talk to you about all of my February books. So grab yourself a brew and we'll have a lovely chat. So I have a very nice warm cup of tea there, which is lovely. And now I'm going to do my little gimmick. So if you haven't been here before, I do quite a lot of videos where it's just one take. The camera keeps rolling, chaos happens, there's waffle galore, and we just go with it. So it's one shot and no editing. So here's my little teacup. Cheers everyone. Clink, 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 clink. So I have got 8 books to talk to you about today. So 3 of them I'm not going to say too much about because I have got a video series where I speak about them in great depth. So it'll just be a very brief summary for those ones, and then I will point you in that direction. Yeah, interesting month in February. Generally lots of enjoyable reads. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. There was quite a few books that I never actually got around to reading that I did plan to read, but it is what it is. It doesn't quite reflect my normal reading, but that's fine. There's a much smaller amount of fantasy than normal in here. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So first of all, I want to talk to you about the first book I finished in February was the Davenports by Crystal Marquis. And the final book I read in February was the Davenports More Than This. Both of these are YA historical romances. They follow the wealthy Davenport family who are in 1910 Chicago, and they are the rising financially affluent black families. So this was an area of history that I was really interested in. I was really excited to read these stories, find out more about this time period. The stories didn't quite work for me. It was too stop-starty. You follow 4 girls and there just didn't seem to be much cohesion between the stories. It felt like a lot of 4 separate stories, and you were kind of flinging back and forth, and there wasn't enough time to develop an emotional connection with them because of that. This is one of those that I read for my Can I Read Romance series. So I will link episode 2 here so you can see my journey, and I will then go on to give all my full thoughts on how I felt about these books. But if you haven't got time to watch through that, do not worry, it is quite long. So in a nutshell, I see what these are trying to do, but they didn't work for me. Lots of other people have really enjoyed them and the style worked for them. I wanted them to be adult historical fiction and have that saga vibe. We just couldn't get in depth enough. I appreciated the themes that were kind of being brought to the front, but we just kind of grazed over them slightly and didn't really kind of go in there. And I didn't have enough of an emotional connection with any of the protagonists and their love interests for me to be excited about them getting together. So sadly, a miss for me on this one. The next book I read was one that I've had for a very long time. It is another YA. This is a contemporary YA, and it is, let's call it a Doomsday by Katie Henry. So I was really interested in this book because I wanted to read more books about mental health. So the main character in here has anxiety. And one of the ways she deals with that anxiety is to be prepared. She's prepared for everything, including the end of the world. And she starts to kind of like really obsess about that. She's trying to control that and feel safe to make sure she can actually protect the people that she loves. And then at her one of her appointments, she meets another girl who, as she goes in, says, I know when the world's going to end. So then they kind of meet up and they start trying to warn people and kind of put plan in action to try and help with Doomsday that is coming. That was the premise. I was expecting it to be fun but also emotional at the same time, which is a tricky ask. I did not expect, I had no idea when picking this up that our protagonist is a Mormon. This was really fascinating to explore. So what I really loved about Katie Henry is that she very much showed this is our protagonist's belief system. This is their spirituality. These are the aspects they don't like about their faith, but these are the aspects they do like about their faith. And they just left it there. And it wasn't preaching like everyone should be Mormon, and it wasn't like Mormon is a terrible religion. It was very much like, this is this, and I'm just going to put it there and just do what you like with it, which I found really, really interesting. I thought it was done really well, and I think it did a really good job of kind of pointing out, like you have in all religions, there's certain dogma that is highly unhelpful, and but when you are someone that you get such a sense of well-being from your faith, you can also see the benefits that that religion gives someone. So I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed our protagonist. I think that was the key thing with this book. I really loved, begins with E, Ellis. I loved Ellis. I absolutely felt for her straight away. I could see the difficulties she was having. She's got a tricky relationship with her mum, and I love how that was explored, along with her relationship with her sister and her dad, and how that developed as the story went on. You also see her starting to develop friendships as well, and I also really enjoyed that, and developing her own kind of confidence and starting to see her self-worth as well. I did not know where this book was going to go. I did not know how it was going to wrap up. And I thought it had kind of, I was a bit worried. I was like, I can't see how this is going to work either way. Whether there is an Armageddon or whether there isn't, I can't see how this is going to work for the characters and for society and just for general healthy messages in life. But Katie Henry pulled it off, and this was, I loved this book. I loved this so much, to the point that I'd say I got 3/4 of the way through. Then I couldn't sleep. So I did the bad thing, and I skim read so I could have the answers, and then I could sleep fine afterwards. So then I knew I needed to go back and read it properly. So then I had to have a big gap. So I technically finished, but I hadn't really finished. So then once there'd been a big enough gap, I'd read some other books in between, I was then able to pick it up again and reread everything I skimmed and immerse myself fully in the story and appreciate kind of where everything came from. This book is really funny. It's also really heartfelt, and I have adopted Ellis. She's another one of my book babies, and I love her a lot. If you enjoy YA contemporary books, if you enjoy books about mental health and things like that, and exploring sort of spirituality and relationships with friends and family, I highly recommend this book. I have not seen this enough. I have not seen it around enough. It's probably quite old now in terms of like what's new on BookTube. 2019, so not that old, but it's not current. That's now 6 years ago. But yes, I highly recommend this book. This is one of my favourite books that I read this month. I really loved it. So yes, I recommend a lot. I also recommend that Ellis probably should have read The Sad Ghost Club. Oh, I forgot to say, there is also LGBTQ plus representation in this book as well. I felt this was done really well. Yeah, there was a lot of there's a lot of queer characters in here, and it's not made a huge thing of. It's just kind of aspects of the story. There's slight moments of self-discovery, but it's not the main focus of the book. And yeah, very enjoyable. So yes, Ellis should have read this book. This is The Sad Ghost Club. So The Sad Ghost Club is a graphic novel series. I believe there is now a 4th book out in it, and it is basically the characters are shown as ghosts. They're the humans with a sheet on their head, and it's people who are struggling with depression. And it's kind of this trying to support other people, like you're not alone, and it's kind of giving you this kind of warm hug that it's okay, we can get through it together. And each book kind of like explored a different aspect of what it's like to be depressed, and sort of trying to find the ability to keep going and support systems. This book is like the non-fiction version. This is like a self-help guide. So it says a hopeful guide to getting through the bad days. So we still have it's mainly illustrations. So here you have a forest, and you've got one of the ghosts sat on a tree stump, and it's got lots of trees kind of looming a bit overhead, and it says the way through might still seem overwhelming. And the little ghost is now kind of looking around at all the trees on the next page, and it says, like, every choice will be the wrong one, so we might as well give up. But, and there's plants kind of starting to grow over the ghost now, and the trees are now lighter silhouettes in the background. That's not going to get us through it any quicker. And the vine is now trapping the ghost on the stump, or at all. And then it's giving you advice, and it's got 4 little pictures of different things. Take a breath, remind yourselves that you've done this before and that you can do it again. Small steps. And then you've got the ghost getting off the tree stump and starting to make their way through the forest. So it's done very much in that style. It's different on every page as to how the layout is. And it's divided into, there's a contents page, so it's divided into what's the Sad Ghost Club, what is it all about, how to get through things, feeling anxious, feeling sad, making friends, being there, self-care, and loving yourself. So this is what Ellis should have read. I really think this would have been helpful for Ellis. It's just a really warm hug in a book. And it's important, I think, to remind yourself it's okay. Because even though you know it's okay, even though you can tell yourself, when you're having that really down day, you're having that day where you just feel like you're a burden, that you're worthless, all of that is the symptoms of being depressed. Then it's just nice to remind yourself, this isn't me, this is the mental health illness. This is the difficulties, this is my brain, this is the intrusive thoughts, this is however you like to phrase it, this is black dog, whatever you like to, whatever works for you, because different language works for different people. It's not you. And it kind of just helps to lift yourself, and it goes back to like, what are your strategies? What can you do to keep yourself going? You can write this off as a bad day, start again tomorrow. How are you kind to yourself? How do you kind of break it down into small steps when everything seems overwhelming? So I highly recommend for any sad ghosties out there that would like a little helping hand. What a lovely gift to have alongside the Sad Ghost Club graphic novels. The next book that I read was one of my favourites, and I also spoke about this in my Can I Read Romance videos, and it is A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland. This is a fantasy, but it's a fantasy romance, which is not what I usually read. This has a male-male romance in it. It is a political fantasy in a fully realised world where there's a royal court, there are guards, there's trading, there's a lot of intrigue. It's very low on the actual kind of magic side of things, but very high on a completely different world with completely different cultural values. All of that was fascinating to me, and I absolutely adore our protagonist Kadu. I also have adopted him. I had a lot of book babies in February. He needs to be protected at all costs. He's an absolute sweetheart. He's a gorgeous, gorgeous person. And it really hurt me to see him tormenting himself. Again, another person who could have benefited from reading the Sad Ghost Club. There's a lot of mental health representation in my books this month. But I really enjoyed it. I seem to adopt characters struggling with anxiety and depression. That definitely seems to be my I'm rooting for you kind of moments. Anyway, I've got sidetracked. Yes. So if you want to find out more about this book, again, in Can I Read Romance, in episode 2, I go through my journey reading it. And in episode 3, I go through a non-spoiler and spoiler version of all my thoughts on this book. So if you would like to look at those, the links are in the description so you can have a little look. But I just loved this book. It just ticked all my boxes. It worked for me on so many levels. I could not stop reading. I needed to know what was happening. I needed good things Vic could do. I needed the romance to work. I just needed so much from this book. It was so good. It really feels like you're on a knife edge. So all of the politicking was absolutely up my alley. The emotional connection with the protagonist, the fully developed world, it was all wonderful. Absolutely loved it, and we'll definitely be reading more from this author. I then have my first buddy read to talk about. So I read the first book for the YA and middle grade Reading Around the Globe read-along. Book club read-along, not sure which one it is, but this is the brainchild of Katja from Page Turners with Katja, and co-hosted with Jack from Spread Book Joy. And I had a wonderful time in the Discord chatting with some other wonderful people reading The Forgotten Book by Mentioned. So this is a German author. This is translated fiction, which is the purpose of the Reading Around the Globe. So I have not read anything from this author before, and I had a really good time. Thought I was going to have a child interruption then, but I didn't. It was just a door blowing. But I thought I'd have a spot of tea instead. So, The Forgotten Book is set at a boarding school. It is a YA fantasy novel in that it's sort of present day with fantasy elements. And there's also kind of supernatural elements within that as well. So I had a great time with Roz from Scally Daddy About the Books, Tilly from Tilly's Shelf, and I feel there were some more people that I was talking to, and I'm really sorry for not mentioning your names. I've momentarily gone blank. Apologies. It was February and we are now in April, so it has been a while. But the chat within that group was so much fun. One of the things that I was very excited about for this book was, as well as it being about a book, it was also had kind of little nods to Jane Austen and her well-loved classic stories. So we had nods to Emma and Pride and Prejudice in here. I did wonder if we were going to have a little bit of Northanger Abbey moments in here as well. So that was a lot of fun, spotting all the different things within this book. So Emma is our main character, and she is the daughter of the headmaster of this school. So you have got that setup like the setup from Emma, where she has a good standing within the small society that she's part of, and you also had the hypochondriac kind of concern from her dad as well, which was a lot of fun. But at the same time, you also had a Pride and Prejudice style romance and certain plots from that were kind of recreated in here, as well as certain plot points from Emma that you considered, and it was really fun to kind of go through. It was like, oh, I think that's that. Oh, I think that's that. And the predictions and speculation was so much fun in here. But like I said, there was also a supernatural element. So there is this artifact that is discovered that causes a few changes, and then there is also a legend. There's lots of legends that are being explored in here. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. And I really enjoyed the legends and starting to see them come to life and starting to make different links. There were moments in here that I did feel genuine fear and was very kind of like worried. And there were moments where I felt the payoff and I felt the kind of gothic elements and the kind of chillness to it. There were also moments that were quite humorous, and it definitely gave us that kind of like nod to Austen in those aspects, but obviously done within a contemporary setting. However, despite all of that fun, I did feel kind of let down by like the last quarter of the book, because of kind of where it started took the story and certain things that were left unsaid or weren't properly wrapped up, and it just made me kind of like go, oh, a little bit. It was like, oh, okay. So I think again, not going to spoil anything, but I had a certain hope for one of the fantastical elements that didn't come to fruition. I think I wanted a bit more thrillery suspense from this. And I think I wanted certain characters to be called out a bit more than they were on some dodgy behaviour. And I didn't feel that all of that necessarily happened. So I didn't quite enjoy the ending of where we went, but I had a great time on the journey, especially like I said, talking in the Discord and amongst other people and coming up with all sorts of predictions and seeing what other people's thoughts were as we were reading along. So this was a lot of fun. My second buddy read is one that I was doing with Stacy. We are reading the Pages & Co series and also chatting as well with Kelli, who's kind of reading at a different point but still reading them and still talking about the series as a whole. This is a middle grade fantasy series by Anna James. This is the 5th book in the series now. So again, I won't do a lot of spoilers. We are following some different characters to the ones you start the series with, but there are still links to the original characters. This is a penultimate book, so a lot of things are being set up for kind of the final one. And this is probably my favourite, or just tied with the Book Wanderers. I really enjoyed this one. We went back to the joy of book wandering, to the wonderful whimsy, to the exploring different stories, and interacting with different book characters and things not being as you always expect. There were some really wonderful moments in here where Anna James does talk about classics and the importance of exploring how classics can be problematic, and they can give us lots of wonderful things, but also we need to discuss and talk about what things are hurtful and why they're hurtful and why it's not appropriate that we use language, but why they might have used language at that time when writing classics, particularly racism. So I think that is dealt with really well in here. I thought Anna James did a really brilliant job of, when they went into a problematic book, exploring and discussing rather than ignoring that. I thought that was really, really well done. So yeah, I really enjoyed our protagonist in here, and I enjoyed their journey, exploration of their family. I had a big, stronger emotional connection because of all that. And there was a wonderful thing of friendship and a really lovely character arc as well, amongst all of the wonderful whimsical fantasy that I expect from Pages & Co. So I had a great time with this one. And finally, my last book that I'm going to be speaking about is another graphic novel and another inspired book. This is The Midsummer Night's Dream Team, which is by Kev F. Sutherland. It is a graphic novel, and it is A Midsummer Night's Dream if it were a heist. So we have a restaurant, which is the realm of like Theseus and Hippolyta and where the lovers originally come from. You have a nightclub next to the restaurant, which is the realm of fairyland. And then it's going to deal with that. And the mechanicals are the heist team. So again, this concept was a lot of fun. Oh, and you have let me check the name. Philostrate. Philostrate is a police inspector inspecting and trying to detect what went down. This again was a really fun. I love retellings. I love twists on tales that we already know. It keeps us involved. It keeps us guessing, and this was a lot of fun to read. I really enjoyed how certain things from the play were used, how the language was used, and how it was mixed amongst more of a kind of a heist kind of gangster noir feeling. So within you have a good chunk of the book is the graphic novel, and then the final part of the book is the full script of A Midsummer Night's Dream. I was lucky enough to I met Kev F. Sutherland at Yalk, amongst sort of like just outside Yalk. He had a table with all of his graphic novels, and I was just like, Shakespeare, sure, why not? So I have got it signed here. It says "Too Chatty" from Kev 2023. So yes, I finally read it, and this was great fun. This was really fun to pick up. You tend to have it is all comic strip style. It's in black and white, but it was very easy to follow, and it kept the flow of the story. It was fast paced and it was great fun, and it kind of kept you kept changing around sort of like to the end, and I really enjoyed this. So there we go. That is everything that I read in February. Thank you so much for watching. I will be doing my stats shortly and also updating you on how I'm doing with my series, and then I'll be doing my March, and then hopefully we will be back up to speed and I will be current again. But anyway, I really want to chat to you about these books. I had a great time reading them. Have you read any of these? Are you interested in reading any of these? Or are there other books similar to these that you think you should recommend me? Let me know in the comments below, because I do love a chat. Happy reading, everyone.